You would be forgiven if you believe that the people who watch anime are normal like you and me. Do not be fooled. The basis of anime culture are in themselves degenerate. When you start watching anime, one of two things will follow. You will treat it as any other form of entertainment, or you will become like one of these guys. Otaku no video, meaning the video of otaku. It is a half documentary, half fiction show that explores otaku culture through the lenses of otaku themselves, made by once famous animation studio Gigguk in the early 90s. It looks back at Japanese early 80s weeb culture and shows us how little things have changed. The OVA, original video animation, is divided into live-action segments of otaku. Some of the members of Gigguk either playing themselves or a character, talking about their lives as weebs, and an overarching storyline about a normal guy in the tennis club falling into the rabbit hole of weebdom and becoming an abject weirdo, even though he had all he could ever need to have a normal life. You might be wondering why are we looking at a 30-year-old OVA for answers. That is simple. It gives a good historical starting point for our analysis, and surprisingly, there are a lot of things that haven't changed. So there's this guy named Kubo. He's in his first year of college and he's in the tennis club. He's living a pretty regular life, even though he's honestly a bit socially inept. When he's playing tennis with a colleague, he is unable to understand he shouldn't use his full power against people who are not as strong as him. He goes bar hopping with colleagues from the tennis club, but he's clearly not into it, and so bails out unceremoniously. And it is indeed when he avoids the bar hopping with his fellow human beings that he takes his first steps into the rabbit hole. Here in the elevator is where he reunites with his high school friend and stereotypical weeb son of God. And then he is slowly but surely brought into the fold, but not before the first appearance of our favorite segment, Portrait of an Otaku. This first segment is about a guy that admits that the happiest time of his life was selling fan magazines in college, and that he never made no normal friends. What a loser. Lame. What a sexless virgin. Rest assured that there will be more like him in the other dozens of interviews spread throughout the show. After that, he goes on to experience the power of cosplay in anime during the arts festival of his college.
そうじゃなくて午前中でアルテイシア本完売だっちゃマジずるいな
Followed by him quitting the tennis club. It is now that he is truly lost, as we will see. You might be wondering who this girl is. Her name is no Yushiko. Well, basically, they are dating. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this guy was at one point of his life capable of talking to women. But not for long though. He gets more and more sucked into the world of anime, starts participating on a fanwork circle, standing in line to watch the movies and buying merch, becomes more and more sloppy, and quits college. He becomes like fourth wheel, and then...
もしもし、上野さん。はい。あれ？どちら様でしょう？久保と言いますが、そちら。久保さん？ああ、ちょっと待っててください。おい、よしこ、久保ってやつ。
Oh yeah.
もしもしもしもし久保くん
Wenho finally has her fill, and rightfully so, and dumps him for someone better. Enough summarizing. Let us begin the psychological analysis of this first 15-minute episode. What is there in common between all these people and characters? Some of them are actual productive members of society, albeit hiding their true colors, while others live the characteristic weep life, locked in their rooms doing weird, despicable shit. Watching anime or reading manga isn't enough in order to become a weep like these guys. Normal people do not become obsessed with these characters and stories, and don't let them become part of their core identity. Most people do not drop out of college in order to pursue unproductive, antisocial behaviors. Well, it is obvious. They don't share the same value as most people, and therefore, they do not fully become adapted within society. They live either double lives between normalness and weakness, or are, in fact, living entirely in immature fantasy land.
10年後の業界は全て我々のものなのだ
What they have in common is this. They are all psychologically underdeveloped. Psychological development is the linear, clearly defined progress of the emotional and intellectual capabilities of human beings as they progress from infants to children to teens to finally healthy and functioning adults. With the help of the school system, your parents, your teachers, and your peers, you learn the rules of society and become a member of it. Its values become yours and you share with other people like you, language, customs, and sensibilities. And like that, you're able to understand, interact with, and help each other. All this and more is impossible if socialization is not achieved, either because of a bad environment, as for example, bullying or bad genetics in the case of cognitive impairment, or, like most of the time, a combination of both, a natural propensity towards reclusion mixed with an unhelpful environment. A weeb isn't simply someone who watches anime. A weeb is an underdeveloped adult who is obsessed with the escape it offers from the real world. And this is what I meant to say when I told you that this 30-year-old anime still applies to the modern day. Because a weeb, no matter the era, will always be a neckbeard. These behaviors and psychological problems are still observable today. Now it begins, the second episode. If the first one was a summary telling of how one becomes an otaku, but this episode is a representation of what goes inside the depths of his mind. In this episode, we can see the extent of the dreams and aspirations of Cuba, the man who famously declared,
俺たちってそんなに暗いか俺たちってそんなに不気味かアニメとか特撮好きなのが犯罪ってわけじゃないだろなんでそれだけで区別されるんだテニスやってるやつがよくてアニメやってるやつはダメなのかなんで田辺か俺はやめたぞ就職すんのなあどうせオタク族って差別されるんならとことんオタクになってやるのさ何オタクを超えたオタクの中のオタクオタキングになってやるんだオタキング
1 minute, we are making silicone molds of anime characters in the crowd's dirty apartment. In the next minute, we get a time-lapse of how in few months the company has grown in massive proportions, with our sloppy protagonists and friends becoming business people leading a massively successful corporation looking to exploit cheap labor in China in order to make more figurines for cheaper in order to overtake their mainstream competition.
中国工場建設は我が社にとっていや日本のガレージキット業界
Then, oh no, he gets betrayed by his closest allies. And not just that, he also gets
なんだと
賛成多数で動議は可決されました。
田中これはどういうことだ
では続いて新社長を紹介しましょう。
Oh yeah.
上野よしこ
上野は旧姓よ
現在
That's around. Again, it turns out his ex-girlfriend was married to the banker who ousted him from his own company.
認めんぞ。
Okay, but what does it mean? The explosive success of the company represents the dreams of the otaku, boundless, restless ambition, the weeb lives in a dreamland where his desires are in reach and everything is possible. Let's just be honest. When you are at the bottom of the pit, you will take every bit of hope you can get. When you are out there declaring that you aren't going to get a job and that you are going to become the king of all weeds, you are a bit loopy. Some would call this kind of behavior childish beyond belief, but in fact, it is one of the few things weeds have in their favor. The ability to try and see beyond what seems apparent, to try and go beyond society. Society has benefited many times by idiot savant abject weirdos, more than it likes to admit. A lot of the time, society likes to attempt and claim the works of such people as its own. Someone who watches My Hero Academia from time to time cannot really be compared with these guys. They wouldn't drop everything in order to chase dreams. They wouldn't like to become ostracized from society in order to go through with an idea or project that is simply impossible to understand in the current political and social atmosphere. And what about the betrayal? Of course, it relates to what I said before. Society seeks to reintegrate that which is unique and successful in weeb culture back into itself. The banker represents that tendency, the interest of the mainstream, offering superficial allure and power to those willing to betray their comrades, only to, in turn, centralize everything back into themselves. The banker represents the reactionary tendency that exists against the boundless otaku-created schizophrenia. Let's look back at this screenshot I've shown in the beginning of the video. Is the sincere creative power of this work deserving of widespread controversy and hate simply because it breaks taboo? Simply because it goes against public morals? Some of you would answer yes, but this sort of behavior is unacceptable, even just as drawing. I do not want to get into the details of the very long war that has been raging between public opinion and public morals against creative expression of all kinds. Hell, Oscar Wilde in the late 19th century was already talking about that in a sizable essay. Moral panics are never stopped with civil discussion and never end in mutual understanding. Back to a regularly scheduled season anime. But it is in the darkest hour, after a time skip of a few years of rotting away in a secondary branch of the now massive JP company, that our heroes make their return. While on a mindless walk, our protagonist recognizes Tanaka being homeless and shit after getting backstabbed himself by the banker.
田中許してくれ雲俺がバカだった一体どうしたと言うんだ田中俺は銀行の奴らに利用されていたんだお前が出されたらすぐに俺もポイだ横領の濡れ衣を着せられて退職金ももらえずクビにされちまった今じゃ食うにもことかく毎日さそれでも昔の癖ってやつかな
And immediately,
田中俺たちもう一度一から出直そう久保俺を許してくれるのか
forgets him. You immediately want to know why? Because they're weeps, of course, and weeps must look after each other. How wholesome.
これからもオタクで生きていくんだ
They decide to get into the animation industry, forming a studio with a name that is strangely similar to Gainax, and making anime about bunny magical girls. They have once again great success, and our hero is finally able to complete his dream of becoming king of all otaku, and opens up Otaku Land. Then there is some sort of apocalypse somehow, and he and his friend return to the underwater ruins of the theme park for some reason or another, in which the theme park turns into a spaceship where characters come back and regain their youth, and then they go to space in search of the Kaku planets. And this is honestly a more hyperbolic repeat of what was said in the beginning of the episode, except even more schizophrenic and grandiose. Evil is vanquished, and victory is absolute. But full atomization of community and society is complete.
オタクの
探すんだ。
We can now be sure that all creeps are neckbeard. And that is good. A creep is a creep precisely because he's abnormal, precisely because he breaks the social contract. A weeb is a neckbeard precisely because he has a cultural existence outside the mainstream. Just because the normies have taken some superficial cues from weeb culture, that doesn't mean that they are weebs, in the most extreme and pure meaning of the word. If you're not a disgusting creep, you are no friend of mine. If your words are not incomprehensible, you're not even attempting to speak something. See you next time.